Hi, welcome to Awakenings Within.
I'm
What?
done with this new intro. It's making me sort of groovy.
Did you notice the countdown timer also had music? I know,
Sandy,
I'm
you are
getting
so happening.
starting to get savvy here. Anybody joining us? I see there's about 5 people. Say hello. I know we have that 20-second delay. So hope that you joined us tonight at Awakenings Within.
So is it like say hello, 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 hello,
Hello, hello, hello.
hello for 20 seconds?
Hello. There he is, the man of the hour, the man, Larry. Larry is the man. Hi, Larry. Good to see ya. Thanks for joining.
Well, people will be checking in. It's now, if you've noticed, it's 6:30 and the sun's gone down.
Oh, I did notice, and
So
that's
everybody,
terrible.
if you're here in the Midwest,
Yep.
we get
Dark.
home.
Hi, Lance. Good to see you. Welcome, welcome. So, yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think of a better way to say Awakenings Within. Awakenings Within. Something.
Awakenings. So you do realize that we've crossed over today. Yesterday, for those of you who aren't from the area,
over what?
it was 85 degrees here.
I know.
I was running around in my truck in a t-shirt and shorts.
I know. It was
Today,
hot.
24 hours later, it's 55 degrees. So we've dropped 30 degrees. And when you go look out at the next 2 weeks, it doesn't get over 60 degrees. So what that officially means is fall is here.
Fall. Exactly.
We are in fall. We had a few fake ones in there, right? Over the last month, there was like 60-degree days, and then 2 days later, it was back up to 80, and we're like, well, is it here yet?
I know. Here's the thing. See this?
Yeah.
I'm drinking coffee. It's 6:00 at night. So when fall comes, I'm not having my normal wine thing. It's back to coffee.
On ice.
And guess what? This means it's officially pumpkin spice season.
Okay, pumpkin spice.
Pumpkin spice. Not yet. I have hazelnut in here right now.
Okay.
Pumpkin spice is next. What are y'all drinking? Anybody out there? Let me know what you're drinking. Larry's probably drinking his Kangen water. He's got that pH water. That's good for you. So I like to plug him because he always is good at networking. And what are you drinking in your Bubba?
Am I drinking sweet tea?
Sweet tea? That's bad for you.
Well, it's fake sweet tea.
Oh, it's fake sweet tea. Okay.
Yeah, it's the, what do you call that? Crystal Light fake sweet tea.
Yep. So mugs up.
Not the real Bubba has arisen.
And Sandy's gonna start doing mugs up on a Thursday evening.
I know, this is
no more wine
serious here.
Up or any of that.
I'm only coffee cups up on Monday. I'm mugs up on Thursday.
Yeah.
So I'm Bubba up.
It's cold.
I'm Bubba Gump.
Yeah. Once it gets winter, forget it. I'm hibernating.
Yeah.
That's it. Well, okay. So I had some ideas on what we are going to talk about tonight.
Okay.
What ideas do you have about there's 19 days, and I'm going to bring it up. It's controversial, whatever. It's the truth. 19 days till I'm standing in that line voting, right? And so I hear a lot of trepidation from people right now. There's a lot of mixed emotions, and there's it's just this big ball. I feel like it's just starting to roll down the hill. And so I don't know what you are feeling, but
when you mean roll down the hill, you mean people are getting discouraged?
They're getting every which way.
Nervous.
They're getting angry. It's almost like the stages of grief and the stages of mourning, I feel like, because we've been through such a time. I'm feeling, and I know you're an empath. and I'm somewhat of an empath, but not as much, I think, as you. But I am feeling it. So if I'm feeling it, I can't imagine what you're feeling. So how are you feeling, Bob?
Well, this is why, from a biblical perspective, it talks about guarding your heart.
Yes.
And the reason is that the way God wired me, I have a soul that's like flypaper, and everything can stick to it. So I have to be very, very careful to guard my heart, right?
Yeah.
And make sure. So some of the ways that I guard my heart is I have to kind of, another biblical concept is renewing your mind, meaning rethinking things. So one of the things that I renew my mind with is the fact that life is cyclical.
Yes, it is. Hi, Jocelyn. Hi, Jocelyn.
There's very few things that are permanent.
Yeah, that's
right.
True.
So what happens is that when we're on the edge of things like this, we can get very, very emotional, fearful that things are going to go one way or the other.
Right.
But as I've reminded people, given my history background, life doesn't move in a straight line. In fact, history in many ways looks like a drunk man walking down the road after he's been at the bar at 2 a.m., meaning that it zigzags.
Yeah, it does.
Right? And it was Isaac Newton who came up with the concept for every action, there's a reaction. Right?
Yeah.
And he was talking about inanimate objects, but it's the same way in human culture, human society. So there's action and reaction, and things zig and zag. And so I think often of Ecclesiastes, the 3:1. So if those of you that don't know what Ecclesiastes is, it's a book written by a wise Jewish king named Solomon near the end of his life. And it was a retrospect. He was looking back, right?
Right.
And one of the things he said was, for everything there is a season, and a time for every matter under the sun.
That's right.
So it's seasonal, right? So we're in a season. You got to remember that. This isn't the whole thing. No matter what happens, whatever happens with the election, whichever ways it goes, it's a season.
Yes. Turn. Yep.
Right.
Turn. And thank you, Jocelyn. That's
and so here's where you got to be careful. This is where you got to guard your heart, right?
Yes.
Because you can react and go to the extremes. So it's because that's where everything's at, right? It's going to zig and zag, and so you want to get. There's a temptation to allow yourself to get pulled out this way. So if your team wins, it's over the top excited this way. If your team loses, you go over that way.
Yeah.
Right? And then 4 years later, there's an action and a reaction. We shift, right? So one of the keys is not allowing yourself to get sucked up into extreme reactions to everything.
Don't do it, but I think that people still have to be aware, and they still have to. I think they have to understand. My go-to when that happens is, and here, Ephesians 6:10, which is the armor of God. So when I talk about swords a lot. Have you noticed that, Bob? I kind of like swords.
Okay.
But I like them in reality. I like swords as far as like in the medieval times, and I like to watch anything that has swords and swords. And God really kind of showed me. Of course, it's because it's the sword of the Spirit. So I like I guess I was made to be a warrior. So I'm like, I have a warrior spirit. So my spirit, is talking about the sword of the spirit in prayer. Okay. So when I start to feel unsure, I pull out Ephesians 6:10 because it goes step by step with you on what you're supposed to, the battle gear that you need to put on. Mm-hmm. And it just reminds you every day to do that. And it reminds you that you're protected, as far as I'm concerned, mm-hmm. and I like to go through it figuratively, and I actually envision it. Like I kind of like imagine, what it looks like, on each part. So, that sword of the spirit is powerful. It's good to be armored up, but that sword of the spirit is rather powerful. Mm-hmm. And it's not my spirit, right? It's not my spirit that I'm talking about. I'm talking about God's spirit. So, in these times, that's when you need to find out how you can deal and cope and what your go-to is. If yours is your favorite scripture, if yours is, stop getting distracted by the world. Be aware of the world, because you have to be aware of the world, because we have to, like me, I'm going to go stand in a line and vote. And that's part of my warrior spirit, right? I'm going to go do something, I'm going to make an action to do something. So, regardless of, how it all turns out, because like you said, it's cyclical. We all don't know what the realities all are, but what I do know reality wise is that Ephesians 6:10, putting on the armor of God, is what's going to keep me and going to help me to move through this period of time. I've actually talked about, in reality, having, protection, that kind of thing. And those are the things you can't just stay all in the spirit realm all the time. But if you have a trust in that, you have a trust that God is going to protect you, you still do need to do some proactive things, right? But you need to trust that He is going to come through for you.
One of the things that you notice in storms with trees is how they can sway. Look at the image behind you on your wall. What do you see hanging out at the bottom of that tree? It's roots.
Yeah. Yep.
One of the real keys to surviving a storm, right, is strong roots.
Yeah.
Deep roots. And roots, a lot of times you'll see, like trees, especially, I notice this along the seashore, where it can get really windy and the gale can be very intense. You always find their roots are wrapped around these big boulders. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. And the whole thing is swaying, and sometimes they're like bending over and they're touching the ground, right? But they don't move. They might bend and sway and do all that, but they don't move.
Right.
They're right there.
Right.
So one of the things you have to ask yourself is, what are you rooted in? If you're rooted in politics, like if that's your, that's the thing that makes you feel secure, you're in trouble. If you're rooted in other human beings, right? You have an expectation that Donald Trump or Joe Biden or anybody else is going to be.
Oh my gosh, you said their names.
Well, I'm just saying, there are only two people running for president right now that I know.
Yeah, they are. They're running. Right?
So I'm just saying, if you're rooted, if your life is rooted in whichever one of these guys wins or loses, is what's determining your life,
you
got a problem, right?
Yeah, you're going to be really sad.
You're just going to be easily swayed one way or the other. Like, this is one of the things that Jesus talked about all the time,
Have you watched that show on Netflix? I started watching it yesterday, called The Designated Survivor with Kiefer Sutherland.
With Kiefer Sutherland?
Yes.
Yeah, I watched that when it was on the network.
See, I never saw it before. And I just started it. I'm already on episode number 3.
Right.
And it's talking about the uncertainty, and that's exact, it's a perfect timing actually for this, because it kind of shows you behind the scenes on how it all works, I guess. I would imagine, somewhat. Obviously, it's fictitious, but what would happen if it all just blew up and
well,
literally,
getting back to what I was talking about, with our ocean analogy, probably one of the wisest statements ever said to me came from my own mother, who will turn 94 a week from tonight.
Oh, nice.
But during one of those gale seasons in my own life, when the wind were blowing really hard and such, she said to me, she goes, honey, she goes, life is like the ocean tide. It ebbs and flows. She goes, when that tide goes out and you're just stranded there on the beach and it looks like it's never coming back, like you are a lost cause.
Yeah.
She goes, just remember, it always does. Now, the reason that meant something to me is this is a woman who, as a child, lived through the Depression.
Yeah.
Right? A sudden catastrophic event, right? This is a woman who was in her 20s during World War II.
Wow.
I mean, a global war, unlike anything that any of us have ever witnessed in our life. So none of us in the modern world have ever lived through a depression where we've had people sleeping in shanty towns and lining up for soup lines.
Right.
None of us have ever experienced a world war where the whole of the world is in conflict with each other, right? So like we're over here like getting traumatized, in 2020, and my mom's looking at me going, "Really? Like you lived through the Cold War, right? The Cold War, where every 5 minutes we were getting, we're under our desk because the commies were going to bomb us with a nuke, right?"
Right.
I mean, and so when my mom says to me, life ebbs and flows,
you believe her.
Chill pill, hon. Just don't get all caught up in it all, right? It's just it comes and it goes.
Well, you can get caught up into it, though. I mean, I have to admit. I mean, it's easy to do. By turning on that
we're emotional.
Yes, like Ron was saying, he was watching it and he stopped watching TV. So hi, Ron, thanks for joining us. I had done that too, but for some reason I'm on a TV kick again. So I've been watching everything. I watched all the hearings for the judge this week, just to see, because I don't like hearing things secondhand. I like to watch them and make my own decisions, and that's really kind of part of it too, is I've been watching everything so I can make my own surmise what's going on, or how I'm going to filter the information. Anyway,
well, one of the keys, right? I mean, you were talking about the armor, spiritual armor.
Yep.
I'm talking about guarding my heart, but so we'll use a little bit more modern terminology, but one of the keys to going through times like we're in is resiliency.
Yep.
Learning how to be resilient, right?
Resilient is
so
being prior military wife. I know about that word.
Yeah, resilient, right? So if you use a word picture, we need to learn how to have Teflon skin.
Yeah.
Versus Velcro skin.
Yes.
Right.
Didn't you said that the other day, I believe.
Right. I'm trying to use word pictures that people will grab onto. See, people that are resilient,
right,
are people who don't let things stick to them.
Yes.
Right.
That's me. Hello. Yes.
Well, if you're empathic like me, it's a default setting. Like I will naturally default to do that, and everything will stick to me.
Yeah, I'm in the middle empathic. I'm a little bit more of a. I'm a big picture. I'm a big picture person. So I'm the person that's empathic, but I look at the big picture and go, okay, this will be over, and this is what we need to do next.
Well, you have to remember. So in the corporate world, one of the phrases that we use in terms of clients is stickiness, right? We want a sticky relationship. Well, we have to remember that political parties and the media, right, are looking for stickiness. They want us to all be wearing Velcro. Like they want us to get stuck to Republican
or whatever their whatever their agenda is.
Stuck to the left and right. They want us to get stuck there.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And so you have to recognize the plan. The plan is to get you stuck. So how you overcome that is to develop what? Resiliency, right? And put on Teflon so that they can't stick to you. That's how you stay independent. So one of the things that I have to do if I'm it's like, we're all biased, right?
Yes.
We all have
we do.
I know that I already know that I have a propensity towards a biasness. So how do I overcome that? I have to make sure that I'm not sticky. Like I need to back out, right, of the little subcultures that want me to be sticky and see the big 50,000 foot view, right?
Yeah.
The big picture.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm a big picture. Yep.
So one of the stickinesses that we have to overcome, getting back to your spiritual analogy, is to remember if you're a person of faith, you're only visiting this planet.
Yeah.
Right? So there's a whole lot of things going on. And it can get all dramatic and everything.
Right.
But the reality of it is this is a temporal situation.
Yeah. It can get dramatic with the spiritual in the spiritual realm. If you get pulled into all of that too. I mean, you can.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the fact that everything that people are fighting over right now, this is what's so weird. If you stop and think about this, all of the conflict that you are seeing, right? Everywhere there's conflict are all about things that you cannot take with you when you die.
Nope. I don't think I'm taking anything.
No, but I'm just saying,
I don't know.
How irrational it is, right?
Yeah, think about the Egyptians.
Everybody wakes up to this is at the funeral of their uncle. Or, they go to this funeral, right? And for a moment, they're suddenly sitting there in those chairs and they're facing the fact that there's a person up there who just died and nothing went with him. Like, no, his job promotion, his $150,000 a year job, his being president of this country, king of that country, his $1 billion, all his land. I mean, all these things that we fight over, right? Not one bit of it goes with you.
No, that's why it's so important to live in the moment to moment. To do good.
We don't let all these things. So we have to make sure that money, possessions, all that can get sticky too. Right?
Right. But I believe in precautionary things, I still believe in precautionary things. Like we still should
not being irresponsible. I'm talking about where's your faith? Where's your security? Where's your hope? Right?
Where does your hope come from?
I.e., what we were talking about, roots. Where are your roots? What are they? What is your roots in?
When did you know that you had a root system that was pretty sturdy?
Having to go through the processing of 16 friends getting massacred on what I thought was the most incredible expression of Christianity that I'd ever seen. It was a train wreck at high speed. Right? I was at Thanksgiving dinner, and the next day I was on an airplane, and the day after that I'm in a funeral home with 16 bodies. Everything we built was burned to the ground. I mean, everything went wrong. So
I don't know the story with you. Yeah. What? I don't know your story in that because we've not talked about that.
No, we can talk about that some night, but
yeah, some other time. But
I mean, this wasn't like dealing with losing my dad,
right?
Like a single individual. I lost 16 people at once.
Were you just visiting home at the time? Were you living in?
No, I went back and forth.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and that's what I was curious about. If you were,
but the Americans that I'd sent over there, while I weren't there, they all happened to leave just a few weeks before it happened, or I would have lost even more friends.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's a crisis. I mean, you go through something like that. I mean, your whole world is shaken.
Yeah.
You know, it's and you gotta just where your roots. Like
your roots.
You know.
Yeah, because that's a lot to process. Yeah. I mean, I'm curious. I mean, it's just, I can imagine the emotions behind that and asking God what
even you're dealing with disillusionment. Like, wait a minute, this was like the best thing ever.
Right.
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 We all have these sort of default settings. Good things happen to good people.
Right.
Wait a minute. These were the goodest people I ever met.
Right.
It doesn't compute, right? So you're thinking formulas, assumptions, all these things are crashing at once. I mean, it's a mess.
Yeah.
It's a mess. And you end up figuring out what kind of relationship you have with God.
Right.
Because if your relationship with God is based on outcomes,
yeah,
you got a problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And that's what I keep saying about resiliency. If your outcome for this election is, Democrat or, Trump or Biden, and you don't get what you want,
that's going to be rough for you.
Well, unless you're resilient.
Yeah.
Right. Unless you put things in perspective and real, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm trying. I don't do those things on my Facebook page. I don't talk about political things. I steer clear, because it just isn't worth it, because I've accidentally walked into that a couple times, thinking I knew it was a little controversial, but it wasn't positive. Well, I found out really quickly that yes, it was, got unfriended, blocked, character assassinated, the whole deal.
We're kind of diverging a little bit, but what you're describing is something that I would define as hysteria. In other words, we're in a cultural moment where there's hysteria everywhere, and you're seeing it. The media, and especially social media, fans it. They throw fire on it. They, you know what I mean? They want hysteria. And so again, what is hysteria? It's extreme, right? Extremism. So again, it's this way, right? It's trying to get you into an extreme state of mind. Make your emotions feel extreme emotions, right?
Yes.
And so that's why I keep saying resiliency. You have to realize that you're in play. There are people who have agendas who really don't care about you. The only reason they care about you is for what they can gain out of it. Don't play the game. Don't get sucked into the hysteria. Don't get sucked into. Be resilient. Be Teflon. Let it go by. Be like a bullfighter. Go ole, and let that bull just go right by.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Once they get their horns in you, they control you.
That's right. That's right.
I think they're trying to do. That's their strategy.
I mean, if you're starting to think about this, even me, who likes to stay really clear of all of that and doesn't turn the TV on so much and everything. Even I got pulled in this week you know, with the hearings and that kind of thing. And, you know, it frustrated me. And I was like, why am I feeling like this? And I'm like, oh, because I'm watching media. That's why. Right. You know, you have to be careful. You have to filter things. And that's with anything that is going to make you anxious and anxiety. And I know, and I feel like, you know, the pandemic has definitely eroded some of those things. You know, we're a little more on edge probably because of certain things that have been happening. I think certain people are. I mean, I've kind of stayed steady all the way through because of knowing my root system, knowing, you know, where my truth comes from. So I've stayed a little bit, you know, I was a little precarious, you know, with relationships and that kind of thing, with other people, you know, and I still am coming up against it. Like if I take a picture with somebody and then somebody saw it, they're like, oh, I can't be around you for 2 weeks because you might have coronavirus. So we're still going through that. Like it's not over.
Well, one of the things that concerns me about the corona thing, which we, you know, gets back into our roots, right? So, you know, the first rock that my root system is around is God. Mm-hmm. But it's having a perspective, not of, mm-hmm. from the kingdom of God, right? It's one thing to, you know, be able to talk about, oh, the kingdom of God. It's a completely other thing to actually live from that perspective, because there's values and morals and ethics, and all of them militate against our normal in this life. Like everything that's happening right now in this whole political thing, all of it is completely outside the value system of the kingdom of God. There's nothing going on right now in this election that has anything remotely to do with the values, morals, and ethics of the kingdom. This is about people grasping for power, right?
Yes.
This isn't about laying your life down for others. This is about me, right? So I'm just saying we got to recognize what's going on. So that's one side of it. The thing that concerns me about the coronavirus is the second big rock that we need to put our roots around is our relationships.
That's right.
And the reason why that is because God, in his infinite wisdom, designed us to need each other.
That's right. We need definite connections, definite relationships. And there's a book about, you know, the power of the 5, you know, the 5 people around you, you know, and you know, who are you surrounding yourself with, and what are their value systems? And, you know, I mean, I take a step back and look at that a lot and go, you know, pretty neat.
Well, it's like it's again, hysteria, right? Because what does hysteria do? It grabs our attention, right? Yeah. And so you can get so focused out there that you miss what's right in front of you. Yeah. The truth of it is your relationship
hasn't been able to have people in front of you, though.
Your best friends, those relationships are far more important to you than your relationship with what's going out there in the big picture.
That's right.
You lose touch with that, because remember, the media and the political parties are all manipulating you to be sticky, right? To get stuck to them. The truth of it is, the way God designed you is to be stuck to your spouse, to be stuck to your kids, to be stuck to your family, right? There's the concentric circles. Yeah. So one of the things you got to stop and go, wait a minute. In my value system, what's really important? What matters? Exactly.
What matters? Then That's true. During the beginning of this, I definitely talked to my kids a lot more. We did a lot of video calls.
How old are your kids?
Stuff like that. Yeah.
How old is your oldest kid?
Huh? How old is he?
Yeah.
29.
Okay. So he's been through what? 6 presidents? 6 presidential? Yes. So my point being, presidents come and go.
Yeah.
Your son is still here.
Yeah, he's still here. Remember he's not really here.
I'm saying, ebb and flow.
He's in Little Rock, but
but I'm just saying, zig and zag, right? Yeah. All these kind of things. So make sure when all of this is going on, we put this in perspective.
Right.
These guys come and go.
Yeah, I know.
Family stays.
Yes, exactly.
Friends stay.
I have a grandbaby now, so that's what's important to me.
Exactly.
Like those things.
And guess what? The great thing about having grandbabies, right, is it keeps your eyes what? On the future.
Yeah, right? That's the other thing. And that is why, some of this does, because it forges the future in some ways. And that's why, watching how things are happening.
Well, it forms the future, but what it forms is just the framework.
Right.
It doesn't we're adaptable. So whatever the framework is, humans always adapt. I mean, my God, we got Eskimos living in frozen tundras, right? We got people that live in deserts. I mean, humans adapt to all kinds of harsh environments and find a way. So no matter what happens, we will adapt.
Survival. Yeah, we're in the survivalists. We're survivalists.
So hope. Yes. The reason why I'm saying this is hope is really important.
Hope is important.
There was a I don't know if you knew this, but you ever heard of Charles Snyder?
Yes.
Yeah, KU professor.
Yes. Actually, I just heard about him. Yes.
Yeah.
I work with these.
Snyder was a big one on trying to explain to people how critical hope is in terms of your well-being, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I hang out with these older physicians who are retired now on the weekends, and they give me some nuggets. They give me some wise nuggets, about things, and they're saying the same thing right now. They're in their 80s and they're like, this has happened before. It'll all come around. They used to be missionaries in Africa. He was just telling me a story about Kilimanjaro, about them going off of a cliff on the airplane, like having to start at the top and then the plane goes down and they just hope that they're going to make it, out of the cavern or whatever. And he's been telling me stories like that. And that's exactly what he's been saying to me, which is really nice to have that older person, a wise person to say, it'll be all right. I mean, he's just like, it'll be okay. Why? Because he's seen it before.
Extraordinary adaptability of humans, right?
He's seen it before. It's like, it's not, like you said, it's cyclical. So as long as we remember that, we can live in the moment, but also know that like you said last week, things are always going to change. We're always going to change. It's not, it's never going to stay the same. Nothing does, so that's why you have to take your attitude every day.
All of life, everything in life is cyclical.
That's right.
Not just the human experience. We have life and death, but we're going through 4 seasons, right? We're in a cycle right now. The season's about to change.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't want to see
that. They're going to lose their leaves. Animals are going to go hide in their little lairs or their dens.
Well, I'm going to make it to where I live somewhere where I'm in the summertime every season. I don't know. I'm going to have to move places like every 3 months. Just saying.
Well, you need to marry a really rich guy that has lots of money so you can have seasonal houses or houses.
Okay. Do you hear what Bob's putting out there? And Lance, yes, everything is old is new again. Thank you, Lance, for commenting.
It's true.
Thank you for coming back.
That's why the subtitle of my book is "When the Past Becomes the Future," and you know what I mean. That's the.
So Bob's putting it out there for me.
What?
I appreciate you putting that out there for me.
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying, in the company of Joseph, and then goes when the past becomes the future. And the reason what I was trying to get is it cycles, right?
It does.
We're talking about Solomon. That's 3,000 years ago.
Yeah.
Said that. My mom, 3,000 years later, had the same perspective. Like, Mom,
3,000 years ago. Well, as long as we know that, as long as we're, As long as you stay grounded. I mean, you just got to stay grounded in what you know and what your source of power, which is God, which, he can do some extraordinary things, in keeping you calm, that is, through all this. I mean, that's been my whole goal for this is to give hope and just stay calm, and I mean, come on. I was watching this stuff this week and I was getting affected and I was like, whoa, okay, unplug, got to get away from it. So
again, though, it's all out there.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with my home.
Yeah, right. So you got to do two things. You got to go step back and you got to go inside, right? Because as we're just talking about, it's what's your root system, your faith. So
right.
So you got to go back to what's my worldview? What do I believe? What do I believe about God? Right? Then it's okay. The next circle is what about my relationship, spouse, children, friends, right? And you work your way out. When you stop and think about it, all the things that are giving us anxiety are so far out there on the fringe of our life, relational.
Yeah. It's true.
Right? But somehow or another, because it's in 3D, social media, it's screaming at us, right? It distorts our perception of reality. And we just get all caught up in things that's like, wait a minute.
Yeah, what you focus on.
Yes.
What you focus on is what is your reality. So whatever you're focusing on, if it's good, if it's bad, whatever you're focusing on. Like today, I was focusing on some media things, and it just snowballed into all of these other media things that I would have never thought.
Which is exactly what they want. That's how it's designed.
Well, I'm talking just in this one little topic that I was researching.
The whole of social media, everything is all set up psychologically to keep us in the loop, right?
But we're really not in the loop. They're only in their
what attracts us.
Yeah,
right?
We're only in their loop. Yeah.
No, but it's all designed to keep us in their loop. Because again, remember stickiness. It's all about them wanting us loyal in their world, right? And so that's where you've got to really have a strong sense of self, who you are, right? What does God say about you?
Yeah.
Because if you don't have that, if you don't have those roots, you're going to just get blown to and fro.
Yeah.
And there's all these forces out there that are all hell-bent on doing exactly that.
Right. And guess what? You don't have to be perfect.
No.
Just saying. I think that people have this they've let religion dictate to them what God's character is. And if they were just to open up this old book, bestseller old book, I think that they would get the gist that he's always trying to help us supernaturally and always trying to help us by sending us a life jacket. So he's always trying to help us, right? And I think that we can get that wrong because we think we have to be perfect to get the life jacket, and that's not the truth. So I just want to bring that up because I think that's another place that people, they just don't feel worthy. They don't feel like they're deserving of. They don't understand God's grace and his mercy and his love. And it has nothing to do with going to church every Sunday. Doesn't.
Well, the reason they have that though is because the Bible, as presented at church on Sunday mornings, has been so scrubbed and sanitized that people don't realize that everybody in there is broken and dysfunctional. There's not a single person in there that actually deserved anything.
You're kidding.
Well, I understand why, because it's the church world, but I tell people all the time, if you really want to read a salacious book, read the Bible.
No kidding. It's got every
R-rated, and there's even some X-rated parts.
It's got murder.
It's so graphic.
It's got suspense.
Everything.
It's even got by the way.
What happened is that it's gotten scrubbed on Sunday, for public and less than 70% of the people out there read their Bible anyways. So there's a whole lot of misperceptions as to what's actually in there and who the people are that God used.
Well, so my perspective of what the Bible is that it's a lot of books about people's stories, and in their stories they're imperfect, they're horrible actually, and they always come to a point of redemption, and God kind of sends people to them. He tries to save them. Sometimes they listen, sometimes they don't. And so he's always trying to put these stories together for us to relate, because we each are unique and we each have our own story. And I feel like he just put the whole thing together, the journey, of course, the New Testament being how he sent someone to save us from those journeys and what all we need to do. So I feel like, when I quote scripture, but I do it in context of whatever's got, like the armor of God, like I was just talking about. But that's my perspective. My perspective is he's always trying to show us his love, his peace, and what his character is. So he's trying to teach us those things, and he's trying to show us that there are people out there like us that we're not perfect, that he saved, that he did, just
But
crazy.
So the passage of scripture that you're referring to, if you understand the writer is Paul, right?
Yep.
And he's writing to the church in Ephesus. Well, he had a business, and his business was what he grew up in. His hometown, Tarsus, was the epicenter for tent making. Paul sold his tents to the Roman army. Yeah. They were the biggest buyer, just like in the United States, the biggest buyer, the biggest part of the budget is defense, right?
Yeah.
Same thing. It's been the same way for thousands of years. So in Paul's day, he was selling to the government.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so what was he in contact with? Roman soldiers. So it's like his analogy, which is deeply spiritual, was based on experience, right?
Right.
His experience in dealing with the powers of darkness, fighting him at every turn from spreading his good news message, at the same time correlating it with a Roman soldier. And that's why he uses the analogy. It's up close and personal. It's like me talking about Teflon and Velcro. It's like he was using terminology in the day that everybody understood.
Yeah. Ephesians 6:10, if you don't know, it's the armor of God. So
I know we had only about 10 minutes left. I wanted to bring up something else too, because one of the other things that is important in these seasons, and it's hard because there's just so much negativity out there.
Yeah.
But is learning to remain grateful.
Yes, gratitude.
Gratitude is so huge, and the reason being is because, again, the stickiness, the manipulation of everyone, if you've noticed, is it's all negative. It's always this. If you do this, if you go for those guys, this bad thing's gonna happen. Everything's bad, right? It's right. Bad this, bad that. Everything's bad, 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 bad.
Yeah.
And what can happen is it's just so much negativity in the news. Is that what happens is you get so focused on what you don't have, what you might lose, all your fears, right, that you lose touch with what you do have.
That's right.
You lose touch with gratitude. And I'm telling you, gratitude, stopping for a minute and just going, what are the good things that I do have? What are the wonderful blessings God has given me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
It will change your whole soul. It will give you a complete reorienting.
I wake up every day and do that.
Yeah.
Little exercise. Absolutely. I look around and I go, I'm so thankful for this. I am so thankful, that it just, for my relationships, for, my place, I rent it, but I'm still grateful for it.
But again, I mean, I don't want to be stupid here because I know there's science involved in this, but we talked about how important relationships are.
Yeah.
We talked about gratitude and all these things. Well, we got this little bug, but it's not really the bug. It's the fear of the bug.
The fear of the bug. Yeah.
You see what I mean?
And I probably
is what's isolating us.
Yeah.
It's not the bug. The bug itself has only got what? 0.4% of people.
Right? See, isn't it? I'm one of those people, I think, and I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but I'm one of those people that hasn't been scared of it at all. Like, I'm just like, because of being in the medical profession, I'm like, okay, it's a virus. If I get it, my immune system is going to kick in. I'm pretty confident. I've stayed healthy. I think I will be okay. I guess I'm just an optimist in all ways. Even in that, I'm like, if I get it.
But fear is debilitating. I mean, again,
fearful.
This is why gratitude is so important, or, the armor that you were talking about, why these things are really important.
Yeah.
Because fear is an incredibly powerful force. It can debilitate you.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Many people, if they hold on to bitterness, fearfulness, all of that, those are usually the people that have a lot of pain in their bodies, and they don't know what the root of it is. And sometimes it's all just emotions. The emotions are being the root, to their pain. I mean, I know there's other autoimmune disorders and that there's real pain from that.
As you're watching what's going on, and it's so interesting now. You remember we talked a few months ago, I was talking about my issue with the experts, right? It's like, well, the experts say, and then a few months later, a year later, a decade later, the experts are wrong, right? So I was just amused this week when WHO came out with this whole thing about, shutting down economies and social distancing and all, right? It's like, wait a minute, where were you 5 months ago, right? Now they're coming out with a 180-degree different worldview.
Who said that? I guess I missed it.
The World Health Organization came out this week.
I thought they already did before. No,
they were the ones that were promoting everybody isolating, right?
Oh, right. So now they're saying not to?
Yes, there were. Yeah.
Oh, look at. Oh, yeah. So, like Jason is in a government. Yeah. In a different place.
So if you think about this,
yeah,
fear is used to manipulate us.
It is.
Right?
It
so
is.
Again, it's a Velcro. I mean, it's a thing that sticks to Velcro. I'm saying it's not Velcro, but if you got a Velcro spirit,
right,
fear will find you and stick to you.
Yes.
And the minute it does, it's got, I call it the claw. Here's the claw.
The claw.
Right?
The claw.
Right. It's a claw. No, it gets in your head.
It does. Well, and that's with anything. And we're talking about this, but I mean,
no, but I mean,
I don't know.
But I mean, government.
Yeah, government.
Right? Everybody's using fear right now, right?
Yeah.
So you saw it this week with the whole thing with the Supreme Court thing, right?
I know. That was crazy.
It's bad. This is horrible. All these bad things are gonna. It's all fear driven, right?
Yeah,
so you have a whole fear driven strategy that all these terrible things are gonna happen, right?
And nothing terrible happened. Yeah, nothing.
No, I'm just talking about if this person's put on the Supreme Court, all these horrible things are going to happen, right? Hysteria, fear, right?
Yeah, but she didn't
worst case scenario.
Yeah, she answered pretty moderate. She was so moderate that they couldn't even stick, like you're saying, the stickiness. They couldn't even
If you wanted to see Teflon in action,
she was good. Oh my gosh,
she was the queen of Teflon.
She was. Well, that's because she has 7 children. She has 7 children. Okay,
I want her on my team when it comes to dodgeball.
Yeah. So I'm like, she was amazing. But you imagine
whether left or right, doesn't matter what side of the equation you're on. You have to admire this woman.
Gosh. She was awesome. I know. They were trying to rattle her, and she was just like,
kept trying to put Velcro on her, and she wouldn't.
She had the most emotionless face. Like she was like, and she just sat there.
Amazing moment. It's like, it was just so funny to me because you got like all these senators, right? And of course, they're all posturing for the camera. And they've got reams and reams of documents and paper, which none of them put together. Their staffs did, right? They're all the people that work for them put all this together. So they go out there, marching out there with all this stuff, right? Like just loaded for bear, as we say.
Yes.
And then they ask her, like, well, what notes do you have? She holds up a blank piece of paper.
She did. And she knew this stuff off the top of her head.
You're just like, I think that was just like a wowzer moment for a lot of people.
Right.
She fought the whole battle for 3 days using 0 notes. And the whole of that room was jam-packed with encyclopedias and reams of material.
See, I think like,
whoa.
Yeah. See, I thought it was great. And me being a woman, just as a woman, I'm like, not as a political party, but just looking at her as a woman that has 7 children.
Right. Just the dynamics of the moment were just like, whoa.
Because you can imagine her house. She has 7 kids. Things are flying. Kids are fighting, yelling, screaming. And she's just like, she's probably like, sit down.
In my view, was one of the most remarkable 3 days. I didn't get to watch all of it, but
I did. I watched it.
I was just blown away at how Dexter's, I don't even know the word. She was just amazing in her responses.
She was.
You would have thought after 3 days, she would have got hung up somewhere. There were so many gotcha, kind of thing. Like, there were 1,000 traps set, right? It's like she didn't step in one.
I know.
That's like, how do you not do that? I don't know anybody that's ever gone through something like that, like with that kind of grilling and not stepped in a trap.
Well,
she just didn't do it. She was like, it just reminded me of one, like in the Matrix, at the end of the Matrix with Neo, right? When he figured, and everything's flying. He's just,
yeah, exactly. Yep. See, I knew that. I knew that move.
Exactly.
Yeah, she was just like, and just for her to know all that stuff off the top of her head is just amazed me. I was like, oh yeah, she definitely needs to be appointed.
Well, if you ever wanted to see a Boudica was a warrior. A moment where a woman just rules. That was the moment. She was a queen, man. That was just amazing.
Yeah. I have to.
I'm not left or right. I'm talking about this woman in the lion's den.
Oh, she was.
People are biting and snapping and snarling at her, and she is just calm.
But did you watch the end? At the end, they all got nice to her. They all softened up, and then they were like, thank you. And they were so nice to her. I was like, wow, that was like a turn. And that's when she smiled. The first time I saw her smile was
so
then.
I think if we want to use an analogy or a word picture of how to handle the storm, I think she's our patron saint of how to stand in the gale, right? With deep roots.
This woman had she's probably going to be a patron saint because she
had deep roots. That's the only way she could have handled that. She
was
knew
grounded.
who she was.
She was grounded.
She had a very strong faith in God. She knew what her values were. She just She had roots.
Yeah. If any of you did not watch it, you should, just for the fact of seeing somebody just have so much class. I mean, she just had class, and she was just amazing.
Amazing.
Well, I know this is the end, and I want to play a little bit of the song.
All righty.
And so I know we're at the end, and we need to say our ending salutations, which our ending,
Shalom.
what we need, huh? Shalom.
Shalom.
Shalom. But find what your grounding is. You really need to seek that. And if you haven't, there's resources that we can, point you to. If you're wondering what's going to go on in the next, year or so, I buy Bob's book. Because Bob's book is pretty good at telling you kind of what's going on. And so, like he said, it's cyclical. What we need to keep our eyes on is our hope and our faith and what our grounding is and what our root system is. And just keep looking to that to stay steady and through this whole thing. I know we only have 9.
I got a scripture verse for you.
Okay, go ahead.
Do not be anxious about anything,
but pray.
But in everything by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, right? Gratitude. So all the things we're talking about. Let your requests be known to God.
Yes.
And then it says, and the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, meaning it's unnatural, will guard. Again, we're back to the armor, your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. I think that verse kind of sums up our whole.
And tell them what verse it is.
Oh, sorry. Philippians 4, verses 6 and 7.
Philippians 4.
I hate using the verses because it's like, you know what I mean? But yes, if people need to go find it, that's it. But I mean, it really is an exhortation for the moment.
And really read the whole book of Philippians 4. Really, it's not that long. And it actually is a great book with all of that wisdom. It really is. It's one of my favorite ones. So Ephesians 6:10. Philippians 4:7, you said?
6 and
7. 6 and 7. So go look them up. Keep grounded, and we appreciate you guys. And I'm going to take you out with this song and then our little stuff. So just to let you know, you're gonna have to look at our faces for a second.
Oh no.
They're gonna have to look at our faces just for a second. So this is a song called Awake by Becca Shea. I do not own the rights to this music, but it's like I just want you guys to look up this song, because at this time I feel like we kind of need to be warriors. We need to be warriors with each other, for each other, and for God. So I just wanted to bring that up. And I have a couple new little clippy things, and I'm going to remove Bob and I. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Remove me?
We're going to remove you. So I'm going to
Band-Aid.
remove
Bob,
us.
you're out of here.
We're now watch. We got a new one. Don't leave though.